We have all heard the term spiritual awakening. But what does spiritual awakening mean, and are there different types of spiritual awakenings? I have personally had experience with two distinct types of spiritual awakenings during my 43 years in this flesh suit. And both types of awakenings were profound, but only one has had the power to set me free from the chains of lies and deceptions that each and every one of us have been born into. To start with, I want to define what I mean by spiritual awakening. And I would define spiritual awakening as an expansion of your awareness or consciousness of yourself and the world around you. It is the process of your true self being revealed and finding your higher purpose in existence. It can be an awakening to the fact that you are more than just this body having this physical experience, and you realize that there's more going on than just what you can see. So here in today's video, I'm going to discuss two types of awakenings from my experience. Your experience might be different. You know, if you have had an experience that's way different than mine, or experiences that are different than mine, or if you've had experiences that are similar to mine, I encourage you to go down in the comment section and leave a comment and let us all know about your personal experience. Was it like what I'm talking about now, or was yours different? Just kind of let us know. So today, type 1. I'll define my experience with awakenings. The first type that I had, type 1, was an awakening to the feeling that there is some greater energy and consciousness at work within us and within the world around us that we cannot see or measure, but it has some power over everything going on in this realm. And this type of awakening can be triggered through observation, or it can be triggered through a major experience. You know, through observation, one looks at nature and believes themselves to have somehow evolved from all of this and feels a deep connection and starts to feel at one with the order of this existence. This type of awakening can be induced by rituals, the use of psychoactive substances, both synthetic and organic. This type of awakening, type 1, can be induced by traumatic or painful experiences. And it can also be induced by a joyful experience. We can have ritual experiences like this whenever we attend a big concert or a big show of some sort. And we kind of get caught up in the performance and the emotion of the crowd, and we can be swept away into a moment of bliss and oneness with the world around us. And some might describe this experience as being deeply spiritual or magical. With type 1 awakening, it's almost always a deeply emotional experience. It's something we feel in this body. You know, it's very sensual. And when we have these experiences, we start to look out into the world for answers. You know, is there more than meets the eye? We seek a connection to the source of this experience. You know, oftentimes if we have these experiences, if you took some sort of a synthetic substance, you might want to go repeat taking that substance over and over so you can have that experience. If you went to a concert and you had this wonderful experience one night with the music and the crowd, people who have these experiences and they have these deep connections and they feel this oneness with this experience, we want to oftentimes keep going and repeating this over and over again. So we want to find some connection to the source of this joy of this experience that we have. We can start to feel a sense of unity and harmony with everything and everyone in this earthly realm. And with this type of awakening, it can be both atheistic or theistic in practice. Typically, if you have this type of awakening, you don't believe there's some God in the sky keeping checks of right and wrongs and good and evil and things like this. We tend to start developing, you can see this a lot in the New Age movement, in the New Age community, where people start just kind of saying everything is just an experience for us or the universe or to learn something. You know, we have the experience and die, and that's just all there is to it. Or we have the experience, we die, and somehow we forget about it, we get some sort of amnesia, And then we get sent right back to keep doing this over and over again. And it's just some experience we're having, and there's no real higher purpose to this. This awakening, type 1 awakening, is about becoming in unity and harmony with this realm and the energy that operates it. So to be clear, let's define awakening type 1. You believe this place to be where you originated from, and you have an emotional or chemical reaction or experience, and you feel a desire to be at one with all of life and with all of existence within this realm. Before moving on to define awakening type 2, I want to quickly expound upon this awakening type 1 experience just a little bit further. This type of awakening, type 1, is what I call a New Age awakening experience. Those who have had this type of awakening tend to still hold to a very modern scientific worldview with a spiritual twist. They typically believe in evolution and all the nonsense about the Big Bang, space, and aliens and all of that. A large percentage of people who are still in the type 1 phase tend to believe that there is no right or wrong, and there are no real consequences for our actions because everything is just an evolutionary experience. It's just happening, and there's no real cause, there's no real higher purpose behind it. So this type of thinking is sharply contrasted to the thinking that happens after awakening type 2, which I'm going to define my experience with that right now. I've had many experiences with awakening type 1 in my life. When I would consume substances, drugs and alcohol, when I'd go to concerts, when I'd be out in nature. And I lived through this phase of my life from about the age of 22 to 35. And one issue that I started having with this type of awakening, with oneness, with everything, realizing I'm a part of a whole, but everything is just kind of happening. There's no real purpose. Everything kind of happened from a big bang. That modern scientific worldview. One issue that I started having with that, holding that type of a worldview, is that it's very naive. And most people with this oneness with everything state of mind tend to ignore things like evil and taking responsibility for their actions. You know, life becomes all about pleasure and feeling good all the time, because if everything is just happening, there are no real consequences, and all is one, then there is no reason to take responsibility for your actions. There's no reason to make things right. There's not a reason to do the right thing. And there's no reason to stand up to evil. I heard a type 1 New Age person who has a pretty big YouTube channel. And just this week, she made a video saying that evil doesn't exist. She claims that people who experience horrible atrocities, pain, suffering, traumas, rape, murder, molestation, abuse, genocide, starvation. She says that every one of us who have had any of these experiences with pain and suffering and trauma, that we agreed to those situations before we got here, so that we could know and experience the pain and suffering. And also, so the person who commits these types of atrocities could just work through their darkness. I kid you not. There is no right or wrong. There is no reason to take responsibility. It's just all something happening for an experience. For me, it was the observation of evil, both within myself and my life and what I saw personally around me and the world, the greater world around me at large, that started my type 2 awakening experience. With awakening type 2, the light of truth spontaneously ignites within you. Something in your heart changes, and you start to see yourself as something greater than just this body and this experience. You are something eternal. Perhaps you started to notice how everything here is inverted. Evil is called good, good is called evil. You start to notice all the poverty, the child abuse, the war, the lying, deceiving, the theft. All of our medicine, which is supposed to heal us, is poison. The food, the air, the water, it's all contaminated. The wicked and the wealthy live and eat like kings, living wastefully. And the poor are ignored and starving. With awakening number 2 and type 2, you awaken to the underlying evil presence that permeates this realm. You have the realization to the fact that you are eternal, and this place is some sort of prison, hell, or purgatory realm that has the purpose of keeping you contained here on repeated lifetimes in order to parasite off of your eternal energy. With this awakening, we start to realize that this place is not our home. It's not where we even originate from. Here we are born with amnesia and spiritual darkness, and you've forgotten who you are and where you come from. With the light now on, we start to look around and make the observation that life here is parasitic. There's no other life form here that survives without feeding off another life form. There's no one here who has lived on this earth that has not taken the life of an animal, a plant, a bug. We've all taken life somehow in order for us to continue living here. And with this new awakening, we start to realize that this life here, this path, is not our true nature. And there is a higher path to go on, and we must start looking for it. Here in this realm, once we've awakened to the evil here, we have to start looking to find the good. We start realizing it's not just a party all the time. There's constant suffering, death, murder, rape, abuse, torture, starvation, war, slavery, poverty, sickness, and pain. Doing anything good here is an uphill battle. You ever tried to do the right thing? You'll face struggle every time you do try to do the right thing. You try to stand up against evil, you're going to get kicked back. You think you're going to have anybody supporting you when you step out and do the right thing in this realm? I'm going to tell you right now, most of the time it's not going to happen. Here in this world, evil, unconscious narcissists are rewarded and given all the highest positions of power, influence, and authority in politics, religion, business, education, and entertainment. With this type 2 awakening, we start to realize that we are not at one with this place. And it's very likely that whatever entity or energy that created this place and runs it is evil. And it's possible that we were deceived into coming here. This new awareness, this awakening, it awakens you to the fact that you must start doing something in order to free yourself from the chains of lies and deception that currently have you bound. Something must change. See, the evil that runs this realm from the shadows of that which is unseen keeps us trapped here through our desires, greed, lust, gluttony, chase for fame, attention, glory, and even revenge. With awakening type 2, we start to see that the oneness with everything here, this new age type 1 awakening, is a trap and a deception. When you awaken to the truth of this reality, that you're trapped in an evil world, you realize that whatever you've ever thought of as pleasure in this reality is only a tool of deception to keep you blind and to keep you in bondage. Awakening type 2 is a choice. Do you choose good or do you choose evil? Are you willing to overlook all the wickedness and torment in this realm in order to just gain a few more moments of pleasure? Or Are you willing to embrace your eternal power and break free from this cycle of illusion and delusion? The choice is yours. What will you make? Awakening Type 2 is a realization that this place is not your home. You did not originate from here. This world is a lie and a deception. All the bells, whistles, and temporary emotional surges and the shiny, exciting things are all just a cover for the evil that permeates and controls the parasitic domain that we live within. Something must be done to free yourself from this world of lies and deception. So at this point, as we wrap up, what must be done and what kind of work can we start doing? You must start working on yourself. Now is a time for deep introspection and meditation. You've got to ask yourself, who are you and what is your eternal purpose? Are you more than just what's happening right now? Have you been called out of this worldly realm of existence to something higher? You must turn away from the old way of living and thinking and start embracing the new wisdom you have found. This world isn't your home, and there is nothing to be gained here. The only thing we can do while we're here is to let go. Everything is passing, everything is finite. There's nothing to hang on here, except for your soul. So what do? We start letting go. We let go of our anger. We let go of our evil desires. And we live with a pure heart. We purify our heart, our desires, and we start living righteously. We start doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. Thanks for watching.